I thought it was going to be the easiest lie I had ever told. Pretend to be my best friend's boyfriend for one weekend, smile through awkward family dinners, take a few photos together, and then return home with our friendship exactly the way it had always been. I never imagined that one simple favor would force me to confront the truth I had buried for years, or that by the time the trip ended, one heartbreaking confession would change both of our lives forever. Before we begin, if you believe kindness, forgiveness, and second chances can completely change someone's life, please take a moment to like this video. Leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Share this story with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another emotional journey. My name is Nathan, and I lived in Denver, Colorado. For nearly 8 years, my closest friend had been Olivia. We met during our first week working at a small architecture firm. She was cheerful, fearless, and somehow capable of making every difficult day seem lighter. We laughed together, celebrated promotions together, and stood beside each other through heartbreaks that neither of us had expected life to deliver. Everyone assumed we were secretly dating. The truth was much simpler and much more painful. I had loved Olivia for years. She never knew. Or maybe she did, and simply chose not to acknowledge it. Then one Thursday evening she called me sounding unusually nervous. Her parents had organized a week-long family retreat in the mountains of Montana. Every cousin, aunt, uncle, and grandparent would be there. The problem was that they had spent years asking why she was still single, constantly trying to introduce her to someone new. She was exhausted from answering the same questions every holiday. This time, she wanted to arrive with a boyfriend, only she didn't have one. She asked if I would pretend. Before I could even think about it, I agreed. Then, she casually mentioned something that made my heart race. The lodge had accidentally mixed up the reservations. We would be sharing one room. For several long seconds I couldn't even answer. Not because I misunderstood what she meant, because I understood it perfectly. The drive from Denver to Montana felt strangely peaceful. Endless highways stretched beneath bright summer skies, while forests slowly replaced city streets. Olivia sang along to old country songs, while I tried convincing myself that this was only acting. But emotions rarely follow rules. The mountain lodge looked like something from a postcard. Towering pine trees surrounded a beautiful wooden cabin, overlooking a crystal-clear lake. Her family welcomed me with smiles, hugs, and questions that came faster than I could answer. They immediately accepted me as if I already belonged there. That acceptance hurt more than rejection ever could. For the first time, I saw the life we could have shared if things had been different. Every morning began with family breakfasts. Every afternoon was filled with hiking, fishing, horseback riding, and laughter echoing across the mountains. Every evening ended around a large stone fireplace, where everyone shared stories from their lives. The hardest part wasn't pretending to hold Olivia's hand. It wasn't smiling for family photographs. It wasn't hearing her grandmother tell us we looked perfect together. The hardest part was realizing how natural everything felt. Late each night, we returned to the room we shared. 2 beds stood only a few feet apart. We talked for hours about childhood memories, dreams, disappointments, and fears we had never admitted before. Without distractions, walls began falling between us. One night, she admitted, she often wondered if she had spent too much of her life chasing people who never truly cared about her. I quietly listened. Another evening, she confessed she admired people who stayed even when life became difficult. Again, I simply listened. I wanted to tell her I had already spent years doing exactly that. Instead, I stayed silent. Midway through the trip, everything changed. Her younger cousin accidentally discovered old family photo albums. Everyone gathered around the living room, laughing at embarrassing childhood pictures. Eventually, someone suggested making a slideshow featuring everyone's favorite memories. One by one, relatives stood up and spoke about the people who had shaped their lives. Parents thanked children. Children honored grandparents. Married couples spoke about decades of love. Then, Olivia's father unexpectedly asked me to say something about his daughter. My heart nearly stopped. I wasn't prepared yet. Somehow the words found me. I talked about her kindness towards strangers, about the way she remembered everyone's birthday, about how she always noticed when someone was quietly hurting, about how she inspired people without ever realizing it. The room became completely silent. When I finished speaking, I noticed tears in her mother's eyes. Even Olivia couldn't look directly at me. That night, neither of us spoke very much. The silence between us felt heavier than any conversation. The following afternoon, we hiked alone beside a mountain lake. Clouds rolled across the sky while gentle winds stirred the water. It should have been peaceful. Instead, I felt like I was standing at the edge of something irreversible. Olivia finally admitted that hearing me describe her had made her realize something. She said no one had ever truly seen her the way I did. Not former boyfriends. Not anyone. She asked why I had never dated seriously during all these years. I looked toward the lake because I couldn't bear meeting her eyes. The answer had always been obvious, because my heart had already chosen someone. There was no reason to keep pretending anymore. I told her everything, not dramatically, not expecting anything. I simply admitted that somewhere between office lunches, late-night phone calls, helping her move apartments, and celebrating birthdays together, friendship had quietly become love. I never confessed because I valued our friendship too much to risk losing it. For a long moment she said nothing. The wind carried pine needles across the trail, while distant birds echoed through the valley. Then, she started crying. Not because she wanted to leave, because she regretted how blind she had been. She confessed she had spent years searching for excitement, while overlooking the one person who had consistently stood beside her through every season of life. She admitted that this fake relationship had revealed something surprisingly real. The man pretending to be her boyfriend had actually been acting like one long before anyone asked him to. We returned home to Colorado no longer pretending. Months later, we visited her parents again. But this time there was no performance, no rehearsed smiles, no invented stories, only honesty. Her father hugged me with the same warmth he had shown during that first visit, except this time, I had earned it, without pretending to be someone else. Looking back now, I realize life rarely changes because of grand gestures. Sometimes it changes because someone quietly stays. Sometimes love isn't found in dramatic beginnings, but in years of unnoticed loyalty, unwavering friendship, and the courage to finally tell the truth. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who still believes in true love, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that remind us hope is never truly lost. Before you go, please leave a comment with the words, "True love begins with friendship." We'd love to know how many of you believe that. As Nathan and Olivia stood together watching another mountain sunset nearly a year later, they both understood something that countless people spend their entire lives searching for. The greatest love stories are not always the ones that begin with fireworks. Sometimes they begin with quiet friendship, patient hearts, and the courage to stop pretending. And when honesty finally replaces fear, even the smallest act of kindness can become the beginning of a forever worth waiting for.